Hello, everyone, and good morning. It is Manufacturing Monday. It's also Manufacturing Month, October. I'm super excited, and I'm so glad Carmen is here because she was actually scheduled earlier in the month, but I ended up having an event on a Friday, so we had to reschedule this. I really appreciate you, Carmen, for joining me this morning. How are you doing?
I'm great. Happy Monday, Megan. Happy to be
Yeah,
here today and have a
yeah.
little chat with you about manufacturing.
Me too. I'm super excited. So you're actually one of the first that I'm talking to that's been involved in the roofing industry. So I'm super excited to have a conversation around that. But I do want to give you a chance to kind of share your backstory. So how did you start your journey into this sector, and how did you get involved with CertainTeed? Because that's where you're at right now.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm going to have to go back to my roots here. So I actually grew up in a town called Wolfsburg, Germany, where Volkswagen is headquartered. Everybody knows VW. And my parents actually did not work at Volkswagen like everybody else. They had their own construction company, precast concrete. So I'm the only girl, and I have four older brothers. And so my mom and dad were both in the business, entrepreneurs. And she used to bring my little brother and me back onto construction sites to architect visits. We would always wait for her. So when I say I literally grew up in construction, that is actually what happened to me. And then I went to the US in 1991 on a tennis scholarship. I kind of wanted to prove to my mom I could do it on my own. The only girl out of five. I was a little bit spoiled. So in any event, I came to the US and wanted to be here for 1 year, and over 30 years later I'm still here. So what happened is I started my career in risk management at a company called Marsh and McLennan, and then Saint-Gobain, the parent company of CertainTeed, was my customer. So I became
Okay.
the risk manager of Saint-Gobain in 2006, and I did that for 6 years. And then in 2012 I had the opportunity, and this is where my passion is, so it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do, but in 2012 I got to run our commercial roofing business for CertainTeed. And then I got a promotion to run our ceilings business in 2015, did a little stint in our gypsum business, and now I'm running the residential roofing business since 2020. Since COVID, I've been in residential roofing.
That's awesome. So, what exactly is Saint Gobain then? So you work with CertainTeed. Now, is Saint Gobain, do they have different brands underneath them, or is it just CertainTeed that's underneath them?
Great question. So, Saint-Gobain is a very well-known brand in Europe, and we're really working on more brand recognition in the US. So, Saint-Gobain is actually, believe it or not, 300 next year, 360 years old. So, we started our
Oh,
roots for Louis the 14th. We were the royal mirror manufacturer. So we actually made the mirrors in the Versailles Palace. But today, what we are is, and it's kind of cool to have that history, and we still have the glass business, but we are the leader in light and sustainable construction. So we design, manufacture, distribute materials for both the construction industry and also industrial markets. And really, our mission here is, the construction industry emits 40% of CO2, and we really want to decarbonize the construction industry with our material solution, focusing on sustainability, performance, durability. And with that, we have a purpose that really, kind of talks to our commitment. And our purpose is making the world a better home, which is really, really cool. And I talk about that a little bit later on, attracting
yeah.
the new generation, having a purpose. So then how does CertainTeed fall within Saint-Gobain? So we have Saint-Gobain North America, and within Saint-Gobain North America, CertainTeed, we're the largest building materials company in the US. And we have roofing, we have siding, we have wallboard, gypsum, insulation, and ceiling. So those are our materials that we make in the US. And we have, I think, 6,900 employees and over 60 manufacturing locations. So we are like the real deal.
That's really cool. I love the history that you gave too, because I feel like a lot of people take for granted construction and manufacturing. I was talking to a gentleman from the construction area, and there's a lot of work, not specifically to the material side of things, but when you're on the road, there's a lot of like thought process that goes in when something needs to be built where
Yep.
there's a lot of traffic. And you don't think about it until it affects your drive or something on the way there. So
Yeah, totally.
a
And
lot
just
of
one thing
people
I
don't.
forgot. CertainTeed actually celebrates its 120-year anniversary in the US. We were established in 1904 as a general roofing company. Our roots were roofing. And we had this motto, quality made certain, satisfaction guaranteed. And that's still something that we really believe in today. But yeah, so not just Saint-Gobain, the parent, they're really old with their 360
Yeah,
next year, but we're celebrating our 120, which is not too bad, huh?
that's awesome. Well, can you give us a little description of what risk management is? Because one of the things that I'm trying to do, especially with Mavens, I'm really trying to educate not just people who might be interested in construction and manufacturing, but also the general public, like what some of these positions are and like what are the benefits of working in these types of career pathways. So for risk management, what were some of your main responsibilities, and what sort of skill set do you need to apply to risk management to be really good at it?
Yes, so I had a degree actually in finance, and I was just looking for a job, and I kind of fell into risk management and in insurance. But really, what it is identifying, assessing, and mitigating, threats, potential threats or risks that a company could face, and it could be on their operations, on their capital, financials, as financial risk, legal risk, strategic risk, nat cat, so like hurricanes, so affecting your property. So really what you're doing, assessing those potential risks on an organization, and then you try to mitigate them, and you can mitigate them via different options. So you could say, okay, you know what, I'm going to take that risk, I'm going to have a plan in place, like business continuity. If my supplier goes down, I have another supplier. For some risk, like insurance, right? So you buy property insurance to protect your buildings. If there's a fire or an explosion or it's a hurricane or you have flood, you have to buy flood insurance specifically for that. So there's different kind of insurance that you can buy, what we call transfer risk, or you mitigate it yourself via different option, or you say, you know what, I'm going to just take that risk. So that's really what that is. And it's really a great background to have because it's applicable to any industry, right? Every
Mhm.
manufacturing industry, they're going to have a risk manager in their team, and like on a day-to-day basis, you always take some risk.
How do you approach balancing innovation then within your area with the need to really manage risk in a large manufacturing or construction operation?
So I believe, as an organization, to evolve, you have to continuously innovate, and you have to practice what I call continuous improvement, right? So manufacturing is all about improvement, and tiny little improvements on the line that you make, will get you bigger pictures. So I think innovation, if you're innovative, I mean, you have to innovate today. The competition doesn't stand still. You always have to take some risk. And the way I look at it is, you take an educated decision, right? You just need to spend times on the pros and cons, and you look at your risk tolerance, and then you have to look at people in the organization who are the experts. Risk management is a jack of all trades, a master of none. I know a little bit of everything, but I'm not the expert. So you bring in the experts, and you go through the pros and cons, and then you make a decision if you want to move forward with a certain innovation. That could be product, or it's a new technology that you want to use in your plan. So I said the world never stands still, we can't stand still. So it's a constant, and you always have risks. You have a risk driving to work every morning.
Mhm. Yeah, especially if you're in Illinois. No offense to Illinois drivers, but they're kind of crazy. So, do you have a specific example where your risk management expertise really helped overcome a significant challenge that you faced at CertainTeed that you can
Yeah,
share
I
with
mean,
us?
it's a good question. I mean, I kind of say I use my risk management background every day, and I always go with, as long as you're 80% right, you're not going to have all the answers, for every question, right? You have to have a
Mhm.
plan. You go with this, you have a backup plan. But what we did, we were so growth, right? We're growing and we're looking at an expansion, and we were designing this tower that was getting very, very complex and very expensive. So we said, you know what? We're going to pause this. Now, there's always trade-offs, right? When you have a project, you want to be on budget and on time. And in this one, the budget was just going crazy. So we said pause, 60-day pause. We brought in the expert. We brought in, new look, fresh look, people from the outside. And then we came up with a better design, spending less money. But what it did affect is the timeline. So you have to know what the trade-offs are you can make, and it's going to depend on the risk tolerance that's a word I use of every organization. Some organizations are more risk takers, like Apple, Google, they like take more risk, and then there's some that are a little bit more conservative. So it kind of depends on where you want to go. But that's a good example of where you just, you kind of say, you know what, this is not going in the right direction. Let's pause and let's reassess what we're doing. So it's assessment. It's constant assessment, right?
Yeah, I do want to take a minute to say hi to Hank. Good morning. I have the junior board of directors here today. They have a school holiday. Hello, Peyton and Aiden. It's nice to see you this morning. I hope you're enjoying your time off. They love to listen to Mavens of Manufacturing and learn about the different opportunities that are out there. So thank you for joining us. So, Carmen, I am not familiar with roofing and ceiling at all. Like, I've seen a roof get replaced a couple of times with my houses and stuff, but
yeah,
you've overseen both the ceilings and roofing business at CertainTeed. What are some of the most exciting innovations in these industries right now that you can share with us? Because I know nothing.
Can you see my camera? Look up. These are ceiling tiles, acoustical ceiling tiles. Okay, just so that you see. So every like office buildings, schools, hospitals have acoustical ceiling tiles, and it's really for sound suppression, sound absorption. So I've been in the ceilings. Yeah, it's actually very cool. And so it has a functional performance, and then there's also aesthetics. So you can have in buildings, and you see it, they're very architectural. They can hang from the ceilings. They're called clouds. They really look like clouds, or baffles. They're vertical. And so one of the things that's really important in our ceilings business, and we just came out with a product called lightweight acoustics impressions. And what those are, they could be panels like this. This is what we call panels up here. And then what hangs like baffles, but they're low VOC. So they were designed with sustainability in mind, right? Very important. This acoustics. So that what's the functional need that you have? Also with aesthetics in mind. And there's recycled content. So these have high recycled content, over 50%, and then very low VOCs. And then they are, have a classification by LEED 4, which is high, sustainability points you get, so to speak. And then roofing, I can talk a little bit deeper about this because I've been in roofing for a while. But ceilings, again, it's very important in schools, in buildings, that you have that sound suppression or absorption. So otherwise you couldn't hear anything. Sometimes in restaurants you feel you can't hear yourself. It's because they have the acoustics are really bad.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, so it's interesting. So and in roofing, so, if you drive by and you look at the residential homes, you see these beautiful shingles, different colors. So what's the big innovation though right now is, so it's not just aesthetics and performance. You want to protect the home. Climate change, right? So climate change is something that's happening. We had 2 back-to-back hurricanes with Helene in Milton. And we want to make sure that we have a roof that performs. We have something for, there's a lot of hail. So it's called impact rating. So hail resistant roof. We have a product called Climate Flex that has a class 4 impact rating for hail. And also is aesthetically nice looking, has nice colors, and also can be installed by roofers in colder climates. So there it meets a couple things. And then we have this is a product that's been around for a while, but we're very proud of it. We made an acquisition, and it's called Grace Ice and Water Underlayment. So in any roof, the first thing of a roof is the underlayment, which you want to create like a watertight bond to your roof deck, right? And we have, it's a self-adhered product. It really creates that nice seal to your roof deck and gives you the security of mind that you don't have leakage, and then the shingles go on top of it. So the Grace Ice and Water underlayment is a great product. And then another one that's really what we do is, it's like in the paint industry, you always come out with new paint. So we come up with a new roof color, and we have a color we came out with 2 years ago. It's called espresso. And believe it or not, there's a lot of science around what colors we come out with, what people like. And it's sort of the combination of black and brown. And there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
science on that. And it's our landmark pro espresso. And it's been a very, very big success. People really like the color. So you
That's
use
cool.
science for that, and so anyway, yeah, we're always coming out with new stuff.
So, how are you really adapting to the evolving demands for sustainability? That's something that you mentioned before. And I feel like there's a lot of demand even for energy efficiency. And, it's not just with like the materials we're using, but it's also the products we're using. So, what are you guys really focusing on in terms of sustainability and energy efficiency? I know you said a couple ratings there, but is there anything else outside of
Yes.
that you're really considering?
So absolutely, as I said earlier, the construction industry is 40%, of contributes to 40% of the CO2 emissions, which is huge. So we have to all play
Yeah.
our part. So as Saint-Gobain, we have goals around water reduction, we have CO2 reduction goals, we have waste reduction goals, and then like product declaration. So you making sure that people know what's in your products, right?
Mhm.
So from a circular economy perspective, so that's really, really important. So that's the waste piece. We're actually coming out today, we're announcing a technology called Renew Core, where we are taking shingles. It's technology to palletize shingles, not palletize, make little pellets out of the shingles. So you ground up the shingles and you make little pellets, and then you use them in hot mix asphalt, so they can be used in
Oh,
repaving roads, which is really cool, because what we don't want is our products to get into landfill, right? So that's really, really, really important. And then when we talk about, we have a net zero commitment for 2050. So that's what's called like scope 1 and scope 2
mhm.
emissions. Scope 1 is your direct emissions, like gas usage from equipment. Scope 2 is mostly electricity. So our goal is to do that, and we don't have currently, a roadmap for how to build a roofing plant that's net zero. However, because we're part of Saint-Gobain and globally we have made some strides, we actually have some plans in the world that are net zero, and we're building a gypsum wallboard plant in North America, in Montreal, that will be the first plant that's going to be net zero. So that's kind of amazing. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's
There.
something that we're doing. And then the other thing I did want to mention is, what can you do, what can we all do in manufacturing, right? Because some of the stuff is like, wow, you're building this plant, that takes a lot, and you have to have the local government support. It's hydro power we're using in Montreal. But what can we all do? So what we can all do, you have to understand, how is your equipment operating? Is it energy efficient? So it has to start with sub-metering. So you have to make sure your equipment is all sub-metered, so you know how much energy it's using. And then is it optimal? Is it at an optimal level? And that's easy stuff that really anybody can do. And believe me or not, like, we as we started this effort, where we said, what are our emissions, as you go through that, you can't manage what you can't measure, right? So that was the first step, and we've made like nice little improvements in our Charleston plant by looking at our dryer, our equipment, and the airflow in the dryer. We reduced the energy uses by 4,500 megawatt hours. And you go like, okay, what is
Wow.
it? What does that mean? That is over 400 homes energy usage. So we would just by fine tuning. No, it's really like important. Just by you can do stuff. You can make an
Yeah.
impact. You may not be able to get to net zero that quickly, but you can reduce your energy usage.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things where data now is coming into play, where it's not just helping with machine learning and like predictive and preventative maintenance, but it's also allowing companies to see where all of their energy is being used and how they can make those little small changes to reduce their footprint. And speaking of technology, what are some of the roles that technology is playing in your industry? Like, there's a lot of talk around automation. I just saw a post on LinkedIn about the person of the, it was like a meme for the person of the year, but it was actually a humanoid robot. So there's a lot of like advancements in technology, not just on the hardware side of things, but also software. I mentioned data analytics. So what sort of things are you seeing with technology playing in roofing and sealing?
Yeah, so technology is the only way to transform the manufacturing industry, to
Mm-hmm.
really close the generational gap we have in the workforce, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at technology, why is it so important? So number one, it's to simplify the way operators interact with the machine, right? So what tools can we use, what technology? And also in heavy manufacturing equipment, what you want to make sure you use technology to make it a safe work environment, because you want to attract people to the industry. And if you don't have the right technology, nobody's going to want to work in manufacturing, right? So and that's then you need to make sure when you have the technology that you train your people and you have the skill sets to operate whatever technology you're bringing into the industry. And an example of this is we use iPads for maintenance, and the maintenance for maintenance planning. The maintenance folk like it. It's very simple. We used to use paper.
Mm-hmm.
So there's simple things as a technology to help you with your maintenance.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned the workforce. Do you have any like insights on what the workforce is within roofing and sealing? Because everybody's struggling to find talent, and there's always a conversation around what do we need to do as a sector to really attract the next generation. And technology is one way, but what things are you specifically seeing or doing that has been successful in attracting the younger generations to your area of specialty? Because I don't see a lot of people talking about roofing or hear a lot of, like, I don't see or hear it. And I don't know a lot of people that I've hung around with that have done it. I follow a channel on Instagram, and it's an all women's roofing team, and it's really cool to see them work on roofs and stuff. But it was never something that I ever thought about or heard about as a successful career when I was in high school or even in college. So what are some of the things you guys are doing to really like be the cheerleader for roofing and in the ceiling industry?
Yeah, so I mean, there's two things. So there's the manufacturing side, we make the roofing shingles, and then the roofing industry is the installers, right? Like for people to
Mm-hmm.
get up on a roof, it's the contractors, the trades. Um, so one of the things we're doing as a company is attracting people into the manufacturing field. We have so it's different things we're using, but from a if you did go to university, we have a program called Essentials of Manufacturing, and you come
Okay.
in and you can then gain hands-on experience working in Tiger teams. It's an 18 months program. It's kind of rotational, and that's what we do for college graduates that come, or people with like early career experience. Um,
Okay.
and then for the roofing industry, there's something called, and this is specific to women, National Women in Roofing. And that is really for anybody who works in roofing. Like you said earlier, you could be an installer. There's people in distribution that sell roofing, and then there's the manufacturer that makes the roofing. And it's an organization that's really focused on education, networking, bringing women in the industry together,
Mm-hmm.
and driving the industry forward, and bringing more females into roofing, into specifically into the roofing industry. as
Mm-hmm.
a as a company on the technical side, on the maintenance is a big part for us, bringing in folks in maintenance. And while we don't have an official apprenticeship program, We do co-ops. We work with the local high schools, the trade schools, and try to bring in people. We have a program that we launching called Sustaining Futures, Raising Communities, and it is a workforce development program that we're going to work with the high schools. We're going to start out working with the high schools, just having the interest in manufacturing, bringing people in high school to the plants. So that's we're piloting it at one of the roofing plants in Shakopee, Minnesota, and what we want to do is pilot it and then bring it across the organization, those sustaining futures, raising communities. And it's really about your local community. If you have a plant in your local community, you want to bring in folks there, because I think what's important is, and I think we're going to talk about this today a little bit, but I
Yeah.
think it's important people have a choice, right? They can go into a technical school, into a trade school, do an apprenticeship, or they can go to university. And one isn't better than the other. It's not the right fit for everybody to go to college, right?
Yeah. So, and I do want to get into that because you are from Germany, and I know a couple of people on the CNC machining side who left the US to go to Germany to do the apprenticeship program that's out there. And it was like the 5-star apprenticeship program that
Yes.
everybody looked to as like that's the apprenticeship program you want to do if you want to do any kind of apprenticeship program. And the quality of work that these individuals put out now is fantastic. Like it's just good quality work, and they apply it to the learning that they did in Germany. So, how do you view the role of apprenticeships today in manufacturing? Because, like you said, not everybody wants to go to a 4-year university. Not everybody wants to do that right away. There's a lot of people who seem to like to work with their hands. So, from your side of things, what have you seen? What's your experience been like? And what sort of recommendation would you provide people out there that are struggling to figure out what pathway to go on?
Yeah. So first of all, manufacturing is a great career. So according to NAM, the National Association of Manufacturers, the skills gap we have right now in manufacturing could lead to 2.1 million unfilled jobs by
Yeah,
2030. 2.1 million unfilled jobs. Okay, so guess what? There's demand. So,
there's demand.
there is demand. So it's, we have to kind of build the pipelines for future talent, and I think apprenticeships are definitely a way to build a pipeline for future talent. What is nice and different about Germany, I mean, the apprenticeship program has been around for many years, and it's an industry recognized qualification, working with the local chamber of commerce, in whatever city you're in, and the companies there. And it's like they work together hand in hand, right? And it's depending on what qualification you get, it's a 2 to 3 year program, and you go to school and you also go to work, right? So you get that. In the US, a little bit harder to replicate, because every state's going to want to do probably something different if we had it at that level, because it is driven by the government in Germany, and the industry. They work together. So I would say, but in the US, what I've seen as a great example is, I don't know if you heard about the FAME program. It was started by Toyota. It's a Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education, and it's something that is now taken over by the Manufacturing Institute, which is Padanam. And that's actually the same idea. And they have like local, I don't know if it's called chapters or whatever, but if you look it up, by location, they work with manufacturers in that location, and they built that program. The problem is, if you don't have your plant necessarily in that location, because I looked at it, I said, can we join it for like North Carolina? But we're like too
Yeah.
far away. So basically, a bunch of manufacturers go in it together, and
Mhm.
that's how they work. But it's a start, right? It's a start. And then the other thing that we've done is a real life example is, we're building a new plant in Bryan, Texas, near College Station. And the Bryan, this is the plug for the Bryan Independent School District. How amazing. So we also picked this location because you have both, a College Station right there, Texas A&M, and then you get the Bryant Independent School District. And what they have is a career technical education, and it's always about what I've seen is it's very local. What does the local school district do? And they have this career technical education center, and what they want to make sure is that their kids have a choice, so they can go to school and get their technical education while they're in school, so they have a they have a qualification at the end of it. And then like some of them get hired right away with companies that they work with, like welding, mechanical, electrical, beautician, whatever, you name it. Um and and it's really great because, in one way you can earn right away out of high school. You earn you have a technical degree, right? And you earn money, and then you work for companies, and if you want to, with tuition reimbursement, companies, you can still go to colleges at some point if that's what you want to do. But it's all about giving the kids a choice,
Yeah.
to what is the best fit for them. So I'm looking at building more of what, like through our Sustaining Futures Raising Community programs, really working with those local school districts and building that out,
And
around
I
where our
think,
plants are.
yeah, and I think one of the things that other like members of communities need to understand is that there's a certain skill set that's developed through apprenticeships that's not
Mhm.
really developed through four-year university education. So do you want to touch on that? Like, what sort of skills are kids developing with these apprenticeship programs other than the hands-on experience?
Well, it's like problem solving, like not just in theory, but actually, on the line, right? So,
Mhm.
so when we say hands-on experience, it literally means the equipment goes down, the lines down, and now what? So, really having that, technical aptitude to say, okay, what went wrong here? How are we going to fix it? You learning to work with people together as a team. What are we going to do? So analytically, you developing your skills, your problem solving skills, your communication skills, working in a team, all that, like hands on right there in a crisis situation. If you have a line, this is not theory in the classroom. This is all the lines down. We're supposed to operate 24/7. How quickly can we safely get this equipment back up
Yeah.
and running, right? So, there's a little more, I would say, excitement there, and it's a real life scenario. So, and then staying calm in these situations, not panicking, making sure you're safe, all those type of things.
I feel like there's some kids that wouldn't be able to handle the calmness portion of it. Michael Moran is here. He said he can train machinists. That's cool. So if you're looking to be trained on machining, reach out to Michael. And then Amanda said Michigan has a fantastic apprenticeship program they started. I'm gonna have to look that up. Thank you for sharing that link, Amanda.
That's
Um,
great. We have a couple
what
plants, not roofing, but siding plants in Michigan. I appreciate that. And it is a state
awesome.
by state thing and a location by location, right? That's not, as I said, it's not like Germany where you have that standardized program.
Yeah, we need to figure out and I think this is one of our biggest downfalls too, because the United States is just a massive country
Hmm.
where we need to try to figure out how we can make something work on a national level and not just state by state level. Cause it's just, but I don't know if we can ever do that. Cause there's some communities that support manufacturing better than others,
Uh-huh.
and you can see it if you visit. Like there's one close by here where the high school, they have murals dedicated to the main manufacturers set up in their manufacturing section of their high school. And then you drive like 20 minutes away, and the high school that's 20 minutes away, they are like, we don't even know what manufacturers are in our backyard. So it can be really extreme um, levels. And it's just one of the interesting things that I heard recently was at the assembly show, and I was trying to do the digital instructions. I was terrible at it. But I was trying to do the digital instructions, and I was talking to the guy, and he goes, yeah, one of the teenagers came up and did it no problem. And he's like, it's like the gamification of manufacturing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, It totally is. So if you have kids who are like involved with video games, they could possibly be a great fit for some of these roles. So I want to know, like, you talked about some of the ways that companies can leverage apprenticeships, and you were talking about some of the things that you are doing. Is there anything else that people should be aware of or understand, like how important these apprenticeship programs are that we didn't cover? I'm trying to think.
No, I think the one thing we didn't talk about, but it's something that we're thinking about with our program is we need to reach the parents, and we need to teach the parents that, and it's not a bad thing, because I think there is some negativity associated with not going to college, and that shouldn't be that way, right? You can make a great living, you can have a great career in manufacturing. We had somebody, and we have to tell these stories. We had somebody that used to sweep the floors in our plant. He's now the plant manager. Worked in manufacturing. You can literally have that career where you can work yourself all the way up, right? So I think it's a little bit getting in when you work with the high schools, getting in educating the parents, and also, as you said, technology is key, right? Because that's why you have to technology will transform, and is already transforming manufacturing. So it's not the manufacturing industry our grandparents and parents knew. It's different. There's a lot of automation
Yeah.
and technology, and you need to have that type of skill set.
Yeah. Hank said the province of Ontario is investing millions into apprenticeships, still need the openings and willing contractors, but it's great to see the big push into this area. I'm hoping that's the same that will happen here, because there is a shift happening in the
I'm
United States.
I'm gonna take a note here, because guess what? We have plants in Ontario. We are in Canada. Is this Ontario, Canada? We're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, we have plants there too.
So
Okay.
you reached out to Hank. He's a cool guy. I really like him. And he makes really good maple coffee. Great coffee. So yeah, I feel like that's the another thing that we need to talk about. So digital transformation, and there's a lot of people who have been in industries for 15 plus years or 20 plus years, and when things start to get digitized. Hank just said something. Sorry, my ADHD is kicking in. I think kids need to touch and feel trade related things, get them to try all sorts of things in elementary and high schools, piques interest and opens their eyes. Absolutely. And you do a fine job with your daughters on doing that kind of stuff. So in roofing and sealing, how do you think digital transformation in Industry 4.0 will impact manufacturing processes at CertainTeed and the industry as a whole? Like, what are some of the things that you're seeing with Industry 4.0? Because that's like
Yeah,
a big
yeah. So
conversation too.
digital and industry 4.0, right? It's actually kind of cool. So you have applications where you can diagnose in real time how the equipment is running. So it's called condition based maintenance. That's pretty cool. Then you have something called an MES, manufacturing execution system, that provides real time data on your processes and the performance of the line, that can get analyzed by anybody anywhere. It doesn't have to be at the plant. And then access to manuals, training videos, SOPs, that's going to help the operators make their job easier in their workstations. So it's going to enhance the skills of the employees, and also it's enhancing the efficiencies of the manufacturing lines. So it's a big deal. So you really fine tuning, and it goes back to my comment earlier on continuous improvement. It really helps you fine tune what you need to do.
So outside of like the training stuff and really finding opportunities to educate parents and communities about these career pathways and closing the skills gap, what do you think are either the biggest opportunities or challenges that leaders will face within the next 5 to 10 years?
It is unfortunately the skills gap, and how we address that. How do we build the pipeline of the future? And it is not just by having the apprenticeships, but it is how companies attract the new generation into coming to work for you. So it is, I think what we see today is that the employees don't just want a paycheck, right? They want to feel connected to the company. They want to understand what's the culture and the value of the company they work for. They want to make sure that the company offers good benefits and actually cares about their employees. They want to make sure that their vision and mission of the company is something that they can relate to. So when we look at, Saint-Gobain and CertainTeed, we have seen with our purpose, making the world a better home, people can connect to that. We make roofing products that protect people's home, right? It feels really good when you say, on the manufacturing line, I'm producing a product, I'm creating something that makes a difference. We really
Yeah.
invested in employee value proposition. We ask our employees, what do you want? So we changed our benefit program. We have parental leave, right? Yes, we increased our benefits to provide 100% reimbursement for mental health coverage. So we have our values are trust, empowerment, and collaboration. So we want to make sure that people feel empowered in their role to do their job, no matter what their job is. So I think, yes, you have to have the apprenticeships, but if you're not a company that people want to work for, I think that's really, really important. We have created videos that show careers in manufacturing, just to attract other people into manufacturing, and I think that's the key. You can have a meaningful career in manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. Sarah just tuned in on the apprenticeship part. Had been the backbone of training in the trades for decades until a shift to colleges is the only path I heard. Yeah, I'm starting to see more shift back though, and giving kids a choice, like we were mentioning earlier. So hopefully we continue down that route, because I was one of those kids that kind of got pressured into the 4-year
Yeah.
university route, and it was not a good pathway
I
for me. It was a
I think
struggle.
I totally agree with Sarah, because one's not better than the, and I think that is sort of that one's better than the other. It's different, right? And
Yeah.
both add value, and you need to know what you like. And we see a shift of this new generation going more into the trades. Also because you can make money right away, and you can make good money, versus if you have to take out a loan for college debt. It's not always from return of investment, depending on your situation. It may not be affordable.
Yeah. Hank said he's pretty sure that his company has done work with CertainTeed at some point. Yes, Saint Gobain has a plant 20
See?
minutes from me.
Okay.
So, I mean, Carmen, you've been in a lot of leadership roles, especially within CertainTeed. And I think there needs to be a shift with leadership as well, as we get more into these advanced technologies and, with automation being a major topic among conversations because of the skills gap. For the next generation of manufacturing leaders, what key skill sets or qualities do they need to be really successful? Because, when you want to change the work culture, it really does have to start from the top and trickle down. Because if you don't have that right leadership, it's going to still be well, this is the way it's always been done, so we're going to continue doing it this way. And I feel like there are companies, especially among the younger leadership, making shifts to be more flexible. So
Mhm.
what do you think are going to be the key qualities and skills for the next generation of leaders?
I think one for me is commitment, right? So really, like, whatever you do, be committed. It's gonna be work. You have the drive to succeed, because you can have a great career. But that is really, 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 really key. Then having that technical expertise or technical aptitude um, is also very important, as we have more technology coming in. I call it strategic thinking, problem solving, analytical skills. You're going down one path and something happens in the line. You're like, ooh, now what? So, being agile, being on your feet, people skills. I should have started with the people skills piece. That is really, really key to motivate people, to inspire them, to build high performing teams, developing your people, really caring, I think is really what it starts out with. And then curiosity, right? You're always learning something new. I think that's a good mindset to have for anybody. But with the industry changing, equipment changing, technology changing, generations changing, and we always talk about, oh, the next generation, like every generation talked about the other generation like
Yeah.
they weren't as good as their generation. It's like funny. So
Right.
and every generation has something new to bring to the industry, right? So that, but this
Yeah.
curiosity and learning is really, really important.
Um, Sarah said it's great to see a revived interest in an alternative pathway to good paying, engaging new collar jobs. Our US DOL registered apprenticeship for 3D printing technicians developed in collaboration with America Makes was one of the first in the country, and I hope it can grow. Our people with no technical degrees are getting jobs at places like Los Alamos National Laboratory. Sarah, that is amazing. And if you want to connect with me after this, I'd love to talk to you more about that, because that could be a good topic for this for Maven. So let me know if you want to connect after this. And then we have Toby. Even with a degree, a lot of times you do not get hired without a skill set or experience. And I think that's a good thing to talk about, because even with the degree, without the internships or co-ops or
Co-ops, yep.
practical, I
It's
think that's
very
a
true.
great,
People want to see internships, for college students. The pressure is so much higher. Like if you don't have any internships on a resume as a college student,
yeah.
I had no internships when I went to college. I played tennis in the summer. That was my my set. And today, it's absolutely correct. If you have just a 4-year degree with no real job experience, your resume definitely goes to the end of the pile.
But I think what helped you in your situation was your experience with your family business, because
Yes, yes, of course. And I did work in the summers in Germany. But that was actually when I was in high school, I worked, you know. But doing college, like I didn't have that real life. It wasn't on my resume.
so let's talk about that. For anyone who's looking to maybe get started out in manufacturing or construction, and with your experience and your career pathway, looking back on it, what sort of advice would you give to someone thinking about what their next step is, and either starting a career or changing pathways?
Well, don't be afraid to make a change. That would be my key thing. Um have the courage. If you feel you're like not in the right job, right, what you're doing isn't your passion, then have the courage to do something different. My biggest switch in my career, my biggest aha was I was 16 years in risk management. And while risk management isn't a bad career at all, it wasn't my passion. And it took me 16 years. And sometimes some people are very lucky, they know what it is. Um, when I switched from risk management to going into running commercial roofing, I mean, it was hard. My kids were young. My husband was traveling, had to figure it out. At that point, I was one of the few women in roofing, but I loved what I was doing. And what I realized, I had become my mom. Even though this was a corporation, not my own company, I was like, this is like it's my own company, sort of. So I really found what I was always meant to do. So I think what's most important is, I always say, if you don't like what you do 80% of the time, life's short, do something different.
Yeah.
Find what it is that excites you, because we spend so much time at work. So you got to figure out, just like what you've done, Megan, like this is what excites you, making a difference, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's finding that what makes you happy, and having that
So
courage to say, you know what, I'm going to have to do something different.
yeah, I've always told people, because I've met a lot of older generation individuals who are like, oh, well, I'm this old and it's too, and I'm like, you're not, though, because you're still alive and you're not dead yet. So just change, and you're gonna be a lot happier from this point on to the rest of your, like, my brother's a prime example of that. He's 12 years older than I am, and he's thinking about changing his career path to doing something in finance or accounting, because he's been in manufacturing, but his manufacturing is like the really old school manufacturing. So I just told him, I'm like, you're not dead yet, just change, and you'll You'll be a lot happier. So I think I almost got him to tip over there. So Mavens is all about bringing opportunities to the younger generation of women, because I see that gap and I feel like we can bring more women into some of these spaces. So in your perspective, how can we encourage more young women to consider opportunities like risk management or construction or manufacturing? Because I've met a lot of women who started in engineering, is one area, and then they just felt really out of place, so they switched gears a little bit. I know globally we represent 13% in engineering. Here in the United States, we're 30% in manufacturing, which is really cool. But that statistic can be a little misleading, because when you look at specific areas, the percentage gets lower, like in machining or welding. So what do you do to really encourage that next generation to think about these areas?
So I think it starts with making sure women feel empowered and welcome in the industry. So, and how do we attract them actually once we have them in the industry? So, there's partnership programs. I talked about National Women in Roofing. We have
Mm-hmm.
the Women Make America awards through NAM, the Society of Women Engineers. So these are kind of, for women in the industry networking events. But it starts with assessing your job descriptions. Are they inclusive? Are there things in on the job description that wouldn't allow a woman to work there? So if you have lifting requirements, are they still correct? Have we actually gone and engineered some of these things out because they're not safe to lift like 50 pounds of whatever you're lifting? So that's one. Then go and visit your sites, your plants, your manufacturing locations. Look at the women's locker room and facilities. Would you want to be there? No. Okay, so make sure that your facilities, your plants are up to date. They're welcoming. That there actually are women's locker rooms, and the lunchroom looks good, right? So women want to see you. You don't want to be the only one. So when you come to a manufacturing plant and there's no woman working on the line, it's going to be hard to attract people there, right? You want to see people in leadership position. You want to see more
Mm-hmm.
women in leadership position. So I've seen that shift happening, not where we need to be at 30%, but and then telling stories. We have a series called Empower Her Ed. It's like you can see it on YouTube. So it's the Empower Her like EED for education, I guess. And it's just real stories of women who work at Saint-Gobain that are really inspiring, that talk about their career, and we hope by showcasing them, that more women will say, oh, look, I mean, she did this, I can do it. That's sort of like just bringing people in. And then we have also a women's network and ERG group in Saint-Gobain that I'm very active in. And then I also think giving back. I'm
Yeah.
at my career. I've been here now for a while, 18 years with Saint-Gobain, and then I had 10 years my priors. I've been working for 28 years, and it's my time to give back. So getting engaged, helping mentor, getting involved in organizations like National Women in Roofing is key. And doing my first podcast today with you, Maggie.
Yeah. This has been awesome as well too. I think too, one of the other messages that need to be said. So we talk about a lot of these women networks, and I feel like some men are just like, oh, it says women, so I can't partake in that. And that's completely not true. Like, you can go to some of these events
Yep.
dedicated to women and meet other women there and learn how to be a better ally for
Yes.
us. So like, if you're a man, I highly encourage you to go to some of these events because they're fun. And if you're a single guy too, it's probably a good time. I'm just kidding, don't do that. But like, just have fun with it and don't be intimidated. I feel like a lot of us have had our male mentors, and we need to give them credit as well too, because I
Yes.
wouldn't be where I'm at today without some of my guy friends saying, you can do this, stop being stupid, like there's nothing to worry about, like you can do this. So if you're a man, go to some of these women events because you'll learn a lot and it'll be fun. You'll have a good time.
Totally.
I do want to give you an opportunity, Carmen, because we are coming up on the hour. If you had one ask for our audience, what would your ask be for them?
You can do it. Just make the step and get involved in manufacturing. And what the audience today is already involved from what I can see, and how much they care about the apprenticeship. So keep it up,
That's awesome. Well, then, Carmen, if anybody has questions for you or they want to learn more about CertainTeed and the materials that you guys are making there, what is the best way to connect with you and how do they get a hold of you?
So I am on LinkedIn. So just send me a note, whatever. There's the chat function. And happy to answer any question I have, or if anybody's looking for a job, we have a lot of job openings. Go to Saint-Gobain website and you see all the job openings in manufacturing. So we're hiring.
Very
So
cool.
yes, that's the key. And I think we're a great company. We really, really care about our people and offer great culture and great benefits. So if you want to work at CertainTeed or at Saint-Gobain, love to have you.
I'll make sure to make a post about that too later on. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that information. Well, Carmen, I really do appreciate your time here with me today on Mavens of Manufacturing. I'm super excited to have met you. You're doing amazing things. Being with CertainTeed as long as you have been is a great accomplishment. So thank you for sharing your story. To all of you who tuned in early this morning, I thank you so much for drinking our coffee with us. I appreciate it. Feel free to reach out to Carmen on LinkedIn if you have any questions for her. And please stay tuned. We do have a sponsored video coming up. If you are struggling with your merchandise and you need a company that's really good at branding and giving personality to all of your merchandise, please reach out to Fresh Horizons. They are amazing. They're family owned and they're a great company to work with. So stay tuned for them. Bye, everyone. Have a great Monday.
Bye.
This episode of Mavens has been sponsored by Fresh Horizons Group. Fresh Horizons Group is a family-run company that was founded on the premise of helping organizations and businesses better tell their story through high-quality branded apparel and promotional items. Freshen up your brand by contacting Fresh Horizons today at freshhorizonsgroup.com.